So let me ask the CEOs of the four banks, Citibank, Bank of America, Chase, and Wells Fargo, the four banks that collectively manage tens of millions of checking accounts for customers. While you automatically and at no cost got complete protection from overdraft fees at the Federal Reserve, could you please raise your hand if you gave the same automatic protection to your customers and automatically waived all of their overdraft fees? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone raise a hand, and that's because none of you gave the same help to your customers that the bank regulators extended to you, help that the bank regulators recommended that you give. So let me focus in on this just a little bit here. Let me start with you, if I can, and ask the question about whether or not any of you didn't automatically waive. I just want to take this on down. So let's take a look at who actually paid these fees. According to Pew Charitable Trusts, it's disproportionately working people making less than $50,000 a year, African Americans, Hispanics, people who are struggling to get by. And how much did they pay in overdraft fees? They paid a combined $4 billion. So let me start with you, Mr. Dimon. You are the star of the Overdraft show. Your bank, Jpmorgan, collects more than 7 times as much money in overdraft fees per account than your competitors. So, Mr. Dimon, how much did Jpmorgan collect in overdraft fees from their consumers in 2020?
Well, I think your numbers are totally inaccurate, but we'll have to sit down privately and go through that.
These are public numbers.
And I also want to point out we did not overdraft.
Can you just answer my question?
We
How much did Jpmorgan collect?
We did not overdraft at the Fed account, and at any request.
So you never. I'm sorry, Mr. Dimon. That was Mr. Dimon. That was not the question. Did you had an automatic protection? So I'm asking. You were recommended, the regulators recommended you offer that same kind of protection to your customers. How much, in fact, did Jpmorgan collect in overdraft fees from their customers in 2020? Do you know the number?
I don't know the number in front of me.
Well, I actually have the number in front of me. It's $1.463 billion. That's nearly $1.5 billion that you collected from your customers. Now, do you know how much Jpmorgan's profit would have been in 2020 if you had followed the recommendation of the regulators and waived overdraft fees to help struggling consumers? In other words, without that overdraft money, would your bank have been in financial trouble?
We waived the fees for customers upon request if they were under stress because of COVID.
You know, I appreciate that you want to duck this question. Do you know how much your profits would have been if you'd actually waived all as the regulators recommended?
We waived the fees every time.
The answer is your profits would have been $27.6 billion. I did the math for you. So here's the thing. You and your colleagues come in today to talk about how you stepped up and took care of customers during the pandemic. And it's a bunch of baloney. In fact, it's about $4 billion worth of baloney, but you can fix that right now. Mr. Dimon, will you commit right now to refund the $1.5 billion you took from consumers during the pandemic?
No.
Right now?
No.
No. That's right. Over the past year, you could have passed on the breaks that you got from the Fed to your customers, but you didn't do it. Everybody else here, those other 3 bankers, will any of you agree to refund the overdraft fees that you collected? I didn't think so. So no matter how you try to spin it, this past year has shown that corporate profits are more important to your bank than offering just a little help to struggling families, even when we are in the middle of a worldwide crisis. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Warren. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana is recognized for 5 minutes.
I wanted to ask Mr. Dimon a question, if I could. I want to talk economics a second. Can we agree, Mr. Dimon, that firms ought to be taxed where they conduct their business and produce their profits as a general principle?
Well, global taxation is very complex, but yes, as a general principle.
Okay. How, and I'm not holding you responsible, Mr. Dimon, but how do you account for the fact that today about 63% of American multinationals' profits are booked in countries where they have only 15% of their employees?
I honestly don't know the number, so I can't comment on it.
Do you, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but obviously what's happening is that American multinational companies are shifting their profits to so-called tax havens to minimize the taxes. Do you think that is a sound economic principle?
I do not. I think that the last tax reform that was done actually stopped a lot of companies from doing that.
Yeah,
I don't know what,
I'm sorry, excuse me.
except that I don't know what year you're looking at, but it did change substantially after 2017.
Well, it didn't change that substantially. I thought it did too, Mr. Dimon, but I looked it up today, right now. If you take American multinational companies and take a look at their taxes, 63% of their profits, the big boys and girls, have booked profits in tax havens where they only have 15% of their employees. Does that make sense to you, or is that?
I don't know the numbers. I'll take your word for it, and I don't know if it makes sense. Now I have to do a lot more analysis than that.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I don't mean just to dwell on you. Let me ask Ms. Frazier. Ms. Frazier, as you know, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, we passed it in 2018, and we cut federal income tax from 38% to, I believe, 21%. Now, if you look at the Fortune 500 U.S. companies, the biggest companies in America, the top 500, of those that were profitable, what is their average tax rate?
I can only speak to our own tax rate, Senator. I'm afraid I don't know the numbers for other multinationals.
What is your tax rate?
Our tax rate is about 19% globally.
Okay, all right. I looked it up, and the average tax rate in 2018, that's when the Tax Cut and Jobs Act took effect. That was the first year. The average, and remember, the TCJA cut federal corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. The average rate for the Fortune 500 companies that paid taxes was 11.3%. That surprised me. Does that surprise you?
Yes, I'm not familiar with the numbers, so it does surprise me.
And in the tax subsidies in the bill, I looked this up too. 25 companies claimed 1/2 of all of the tax subsidies in the bill. 5 companies claimed 22% of all of the tax subsidies in the bill. I didn't know this. Those 5 companies are Bank of America, Jpmorgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Amazon, and Verizon. Does that surprise you?